What a week. What an exhausting week. Holy moly. We've got hurricanes hitting Florida, MicroStrategy hitting all-time high, 52-week high. I'm going to call it an all-time high because it's really a market cap all-time high. Just wanted to go over some things I'm thinking about. And maybe a couple takeaways from this week and looking at some of the sentiment after a euphoric day like today. And I kind of wanted to dissect it a little bit because I think some of you might find it interesting. I don't know. These are the things I think about. This is the way I think about things. So yeah, let's share my screen. Okay, here we are. MicroStrategy, now ranked 228th largest U.S. company by market cap, 43 billion. Jumped 33 companies today and 39 this week. Whoa. This is definitely the biggest day that we've seen in MicroStrategy. We passed some serious companies this week, looking at Block, Ford, Kraft Heinz, NASDAQ, General Mills, Dow Chemical, Hershey's, Discover, DuPont. These are all household names. So we're starting to get to this household name territory where MicroStrategy is starting to climb and go higher and higher amongst their peers. So even after some euphoria and what seems like, a very high price, they're still ranked 228th largest U.S. publicly traded entity. And look who else is around them, right? Like the thesis is the same. All of these companies around them, with the exception of Block, have zero Bitcoin. Zero. If they were to start adopting Bitcoin or purchasing Bitcoin, there's 0% chance that they would be able to catch what MicroStrategy's holding and become a Bitcoin financial powerhouse or a financial bank per se. So again, thinking about, the relative space of MicroStrategy relative to these other companies is really helpful. I mean, the thesis is still exactly the same. Nothing has changed. And I think that's the other reason I wanted to come on and talk through this a little bit, is because the next 12 months are going to be crazy. The next 24 months are going to be crazy. The next 8 years are going to be crazy as the financial world is reshaping its foundation and what it looks like. And I think people need to start thinking that way. Because what's going on with MicroStrategy right now is the largest financial event in corporate history. There's never been a situation like this that's happened before, where you've got a company that's converting their 100% of their assets to the strongest money on the planet that's completely finite. And it's an asset without an issuer. It cannot be manipulated. It's never happened before in human history. So I don't think you can use framework of recent history to guide you on the valuation of this company, because there's nothing like it ever, which is what makes it so fascinating to everybody. And I really like Mark. We interact a fair amount. We've had a little back and forth recently on some stuff with Tesla, but I kind of wanted to break down this tweet because I think the sentiment is carried across a lot of the market, at least from what I've seen. And this is a good summary of some of the FUD that I see from my perspective. So let's go through this a little bit. I'm a long-term MicroStrategy bull, but the contrarian in me can't help being skeptical of the recent hype and extremely high sentiment. So recent hype, extremely high sentiment. Let's go back to this. Price of MicroStrategy in the last 3 months is up. What is that? From $132 to $212. Even in the last month, the price of MicroStrategy is up almost $100. So what is that? Oh, it's about 100%. The MicroStrategy stock is almost up about 100% since September. Wow, that's crazy. Maybe 80% ish. So it moves really fast. But let's think back about this, about sentiment. And I wanted to show you guys my my Twitter analytics because I think this could be good perspective on relativity of like MicroStrategy sentiment in the market. And so, I've shown this here. I started becoming really active in the MicroStrategy community probably January of this year, and I started posting a lot more. And since I started posting in January, I haven't slowed down in like the amount of posts that I've had. I think it's been relatively consistent, and my interaction with the community has been pretty similar over time. But looking back at just the number of impressions that I was getting on my profile back in March and April and May are significantly higher than the impressions that I've been getting on the portfolio on my profile just in the last week. So from my perspective, while there's been a lot of exuberance and excitement about MicroStrategy, I don't think this thing hasn't even gotten started. We all think we're in our own bubble here in the Twitter sphere, but really people outside of Bitcoin Twitter, which is like 99.8% of humanity, have no idea this is going on. Like zero. And I wanted to pull up Google search trends because I think this is another good perspective. Just showing MicroStrategy over time, relative to back in March when the price went from, what was it? Like, I don't know, $600 to almost $2,000, $1,999. The search interest was significantly greater than the search interest we've had in the last month. So, in my opinion, that would indicate, again, while sentiment seems incredibly high on Twitter, because there are a lot of people that are excited on Twitter, this excitement does not extend outside of the Twitter ecosphere or even the Bitcoin Twitter ecosphere, which might be like 80,000 people, 100,000 people that are active in the Bitcoin Twitter sphere. I mean, Saylor's got 3 million followers, but how many people are actually like active in the Bitcoin ecosystem or Bitcoin Twitter? I don't know, 100, 200,000 ish, maybe. Maybe there's more. Maybe there's 400,000, but still, like, there's 300 million people that live in the United States. We're talking less than 1%. We're less than 0.1%. Less than 0.1% of people in the United States are probably active on Bitcoin Twitter. Wow. And Twitter's global. So going back to Mark's tweet here, I wouldn't be skeptical of the recent hype and extremely high sentiment. I mean, we're not in roaring kitty status yet. Roaring kitty status is funny. Wall Street bets. So I was part of the GameStop trade. I was there kind of from the beginning. I was watching it happening. I liquidated my entire portfolio. I bought GameStop shares. I was in on the whole thing. Wall Street bets, when it first started, was roughly around 600,000 people. After the first crash in January, where GameStop went from, I don't know, what was it? Like basically $4 billion to $22 billion in a week. Wall Street Bets subreddit went from 600,000 people to 10 million people. The alpha that was available in Wall Street Bets subreddit evaporated like overnight because it was totally infiltrated with, bots and different people and that was Euphoria and people were running in. We are nowhere near the level of Euphoria with GameStop. Like not even remotely close. And I it's going to get crazier, and everybody should prepare for it to possibly get crazier, because this hasn't even turned into meme stock status yet, in my opinion. Another data point, the irresponsibly long community on Twitter is 7,000 people. I think the MSTR den now has, I don't know, 1,200 or 1,500 people, which is a Discord. Anybody listening to this, go check out MSTR den. It's a little Discord of all these crazy guys just talking to each other. I think gals are in there too. But I guess what I'm getting at is the sheer scale of exuberance or excitement for MicroStrategy hasn't even started yet. And I would anticipate it's going to get a lot crazier. Even if the net asset value doesn't expand and the price of Bitcoin goes up, and MicroStrategy, let's just say MicroStrategy tracks it 1-to-1, people are going to be going crazy on both sides, and there will be exuberance on both sides, which will excite even more outside money from Bitcoin into MicroStrategy and vice versa. There will be money flying all over the place. In my opinion, this thing has started to take off a little bit, and it will fling people off with zero regard. People are going to try to trade this stock and sell it at $300 because they think it's capped out at price at $300. Maybe it drops momentarily from 300 to 250, and then it rips to 3,000. And there's a potential that it never comes back down. Maybe it comes down to 1,000 or 1,500 or something like that. I think this is going to move very similarly to Bitcoin, but on the down, I wouldn't anticipate the downsides to move the same that Bitcoin does, because there's new capital in play now. And what I mean by that is, one, you've got the Bitcoin ETFs, which are available for anybody to purchase easily in a brokerage account. And those types of buyers may be less sensitive to price fluctuations than previous buyers. And they may see a dip in price as more of an opportunity to purchase more Bitcoin because they know that the cycle exists. Take a little tea break. So with that in mind, there's potential that Bitcoin doesn't see a drop down in the bear market similar to past cycles. And compounding on that, MicroStrategy also has inclusion in market cap weighted index funds. I know I talk about S&P 500 and QQQ a lot. I'm going to put those over here. Those don't really matter. That's just jet fuel. S&P 500 and QQQ are just jet fuel to this entire trade. They're already, MSTR is already included in market cap weighted index funds. So they're going to continue getting new dollars from banks and pension funds and insurance companies and people allocating to 401ks that have funds that are tied to MicroStrategy. So with that said, there's always going to be new buyers forever, regardless of what the price of Bitcoin is. So when people start pegging the price of MicroStrategy to Bitcoin, while it is a good proxy, it is not 100% correlated. It is less than 80% correlated. And the reason for the breaking correlation is because there are other price insensitive buyers that are buying en masse consistently over time. And those allocations move and fluctuate and result in a more compressed float of tradable shares that are trading at the margin. So I know that's a complex concept, but I am personally considering the potential that this gets incredibly crazy and unbearably euphoric, because there will be a break in rationality, and the market will likely be irrational for much longer than it will be rational. Again, I think even the term irrational is worth exploring there, because while MicroStrategy's evaluation, let's just say $42 billion market cap like it ended today, many people think that a $42 billion market cap is irrational. On the other side of the coin, people like me and other long-term bulls think that the price of MicroStrategy with a $42 billion market cap is incredibly rational, and think it should be much, 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 much higher, because all stocks are forward-looking about what the future value of the stock is going to be. The real question is, how far forward-looking is MicroStrategy, and at what point in the future is the market looking at, and what is the price of Bitcoin at that point? So, almost like a forward-looking Bitcoin price, like discounted back to today's price. And if people think that the price of MicroStrategy is going up forever, and the price is going to be $1 million, $13 million, $40 million, whatever the price may be, if it's going there, and you feel confident that it's going there, in my opinion, the rationale would be the market cap of MicroStrategy today should be worth, 300,000 Bitcoin and multiplied by $1 million price per Bitcoin 8 years from now. And I mean, for me, I can conceptualize a $1 trillion market cap in 4 years or 8 years. Just knowing how powerful of an asset Bitcoin is, where it's at in its development, where it's going, my horizon of, thinking about it getting integrated into like the economy, the business world, insurance, banking, politics, all of that stuff. And I think the valuation of any equity today is, for forward-looking valuation of what the value may be at some point in the future. And because of that, because of the nature, right, the nature of that concept, you have incentive to think of these stocks as like savings accounts. I will never forget. I had this previous coworker, and he was talking to me when I first started working about what stocks to invest in, and he said, whatever you do, just buy 10% of your paycheck and put it into Apple. That's a savings account. And the way he framed it was just so interesting to me, and I never thought about it like that before. This is 15 years ago. Once people start to grasp the concept of where MicroStrategy is going at some point in the future, they will start thinking the same way. If they get paid by their employer and they have a 401k or an IRA, and they want to take advantage of tax advantaged accounts with trapped capital, or or even take on a little bit of leverage beyond their cold storage Bitcoin position, if you feel comfortable with your Bitcoin stack. People are going to be investing in this and thinking about MicroStrategy as a savings account for some time into the future, because I don't think the structure of the economy is going to change anytime soon. So, anyway, that was kind of a rant, but, we got into that. Oh, the other one I wanted to go through, this other comment here. MicroStrategy holds around 16 billion worth of Bitcoin right now. Market cap is 42 billion though. Hello. Okay, let's just take this is I guess somebody's saying that the valuation is irrational, right? Like the valuation of $42 billion is irrational. Now, I wanted to walk through another irrational event in financial history, the GameStop short squeeze. And I'm going to come to that here. And looking at the GameStop short squeeze, so this is in January of 21. GameStop had $2.4 billion in assets. And in January of 21, they had $2 billion of liabilities. So they had $430 million of net assets, right? That's why hedge funds were shorting this company into the ground. They're shorting it into the ground because it had hardly any assets, had a ton of liabilities. They had real estate issues. The company was going down. It was falling out of the Russell 2000, right? It just was not getting included in any indices anymore. It was really just kind of on its death sentence. And so when GameStop, when the GameStop event occurred in January of 2021, the market cap hit a high of 22.6 billion. So their net assets were 400 million. Basically, if you were to sell everything in the company and pay it out to all of the shareholders, right? If you were to sell everything that the company had, pay off all the debt, and then pay out the rest of the money to all of the shareholders, there would only be $437 million left. That's what the company was worth. Basically, the shirts on their backs. And the games and the DVDs and all that stuff. But the company, when it hit its peak in the craziness, was valued at 22.6 billion. That's a 50 times multiple. I can see people arguing that GameStop was overpriced and there was exuberance in this valuation, and this valuation doesn't make a ton of sense. Again, going back to MicroStrategy, a valuation for them makes a lot more sense, and a quote-unquote irrational evaluation for them makes a lot more sense because it's forward-looking on the underlying asset that the company is based upon. And that's fundamentally different than what was going on here. GameStop was losing money. MicroStrategy is making tons of money. And nobody knows yet, right? The accounting hasn't even come into play. This hasn't even hit the news. Ask around in your communities. Ask around in financial groups. People have no idea this is happening. And be patient. Be patient, buckle your seatbelt, and prepare yourself because it's going to get crazy. So yeah, that's really all I had. I just kind of wanted to walk through those a little bit. The next 12 months are going to be unbearably euphoric. Hopefully, I think, pending any Black Swan event. And I think everyone should prepare for, this to go much higher. MicroStrategy is not going to care. There's still a really high potential of them getting it added to QQQ in December. And a lot of bullish catalysts on the horizon. So, wow. Great week, everybody. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. So I guess, I'll just end it there. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm probably going to lay low. Catch you later. See ya.